Yes,
Now it
Sweta.
is visible. This- A very good morning, everyone. This is Shweta Otwani, Faculty, Department of Business Administration, APSU RIVA, going to present the paper on topic Bouncing Back Employee Motivation Amidst COVID Chaos. Since we are running shortage of time, I'll directly start with the research methodology. The main objective of the study to gain understanding of the employee motivation strategies used by the organization in this COVID era. An exploratory method of research was used to know about the several strategies used by the employers of the organization for motivating the employees and keep them going. Basically, the paper is based on secondary data, and therefore, the researcher has undergone through various sources of secondary data in the form of articles, blogs, books, and research papers to explore as well as consolidate all those motivational strategies being used. Moving towards the next slide. The findings that turned out to be in the form of motivational strategies used during this COVID 19 are first is staying connected with the employees. I'm going to present it in short because of the limited time. Maintaining a strong communication is a trait of a good employer and leader, and many organizations have been giving a set of tasks to messaging employees to a group, specially meant for the purpose in the organization. It is made sure via communication that if they are doing well or not, if they are healthy or not, this way of confirming about their health reflects their value and leaves a mark of empathy by making them believe that the organization cares for them. Second strategy, providing financial assistance to employees. On one side, where employees are seeking for the help from their employers on the other side are looking for the ways to extend their support in this period of crisis. Employers have been giving paid time off and providing additional funds that too tax free and also making easy access of funds. The companies like Marriott, Paytm, PepsiCo, Amazon, Reliance Industry, who stood with their employees in this difficult time, and they have been extending their full support in the various forms. The CEO of Marriott, Mr. Arnie Sorensen, announced that he would not be taking payment for this year 2020, and rather he would distribute that amount amongst his employees. And in this chain, the founder of Paytm, Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, also announced that he would not be taking salary for 2 months, and it would be allocated rather to the employees in the form of financial aids. Likewise, the PepsiCo also promised to pay full remuneration to the employees who are in quarantine, and also the additional benefits to those who would sell the products in this risky period. They would be given those additional benefits. And likewise, the founder of Amazon announced around 1 lakh new roles and gave a chance to employees who were laid off from the jobs, uh, from clubs, restaurants during the period of lockdown till they are able to get back to their jobs, and also promised to give more wages to the workers who work on time basis, especially for completing orders and delivering services in this period of uncertainty. Even the CEO of Reliance Industry, Mr. Mukesh Ambani, he also announced double the payment of salary in a month to the employees who earn less than rupees 30,000 a month to maintain their cash flows. Moving towards the next strategy, paying attention towards safety and well-being of the employees. If any organization is operating on site in this period of pandemic, then it becomes imperative for the employers to take the necessary precautions or facilities made available to the employees, whether they are practicing social distancing in the offices or not, like the presence of sanitizers, masks, gloves, etc. is there. And also the organization should discuss the health related policies and any changes made to it with employees. The organizations like ITC Hotels, MWay have been assuring the well-being of their employees in different ways. The MWay has constituted committees with the object of chalking out strategies with respect to the health of employees and extending them help through conducting webinars on creating awareness among how to cope up with this spiraling tension in this unprecedented time of crisis. And they also announced Mediclaim benefit for those affected by the virus. Likewise, ITC has also been concerned about the health of the employees and taking update on the well-being of them by connecting through employees over calls and asking them about their health and the health of their family members, if they are fine or not. And almost like this, 10 employees are reached out every day by HR manager, and approximately 1,200 have been provided with necessary support. Likewise, the fourth strategy, that's invest in development. Companies have been utilizing this period for the development and polishing the skills of employees through various online platforms. I'll quickly brief the examples. Like MACD India has been offering online learning modules, creative knowledge sharing sessions, quiz sessions, master classes to ensure the continuous and uninterrupted growth of employees. MBA has been conducting online webinars. Coca-Cola has been practicing this learning programs for the employees. And this is how we have another strategies also give employees the freedom and authority to make decisions. Next strategy, recognize and reward good employees, which directly boost up the confidence of employees and motivates them to keep up the meaningful work by pouring their contribution in it. Now, moving directly to the conclusion. Employee motivation is one of the most important factor affecting the productivity of organization. The current situation of pandemic has widely affected the morale and motivation of employees, and hence productivity of employees. The practice of strategies like providing financial assistance to the employees, prioritizing the well-being of the employees, developing sense of belongingness among the employees, reorienting activities, investing in employee development, encouraging teamwork and collaboration, giving employees the freedom and authority to take their decisions, recognizing and rewarding employees can actually improve motivation of employees. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shweta. Our next participant is Miss Roshni Gupta.
Yes, ma'am. May I, ma'am, can I cooperate myself, my PPT?
Yes, of course, you can do that. You'll have to share your PPT. Can you share your PPT?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, Roshni. Okay, go ahead.
A very good morning to all dignitaries and participants. I'm Roshni Gupta, along with my co-author Neeta Manglai. I'm over here for the presentation on the topic of the effect of employee empowerment on organizational performance in post-COVID-19 and banking sector. Firstly, we talk about who is employee. Employee is a person who works for somebody. And what is empowerment? Empowerment is the authority or power given to someone to do something. Next is introduction of employee empowerment. Employee empowerment is defined as the ways in which organizations provide their employees with a certain degree of autonomy and control in these day-to-day activities. Empowering employees enable organization to be more flexible and responsive and lead to improvement both individual and organizational performance. Next is introduction of organizational performance. Organizational performance is about establishing a culture where individuals and teams take responsibilities for continuous improvement. Next is COVID. We see in COVID-19 so many negative things, but positive things also happened. Here the COVID abbreviation in some positive manner. C means channelizing innovation and research. O means overcoming poverty and corruption. V means visualizing future leader. I means implementing inclusive growth all the sectors. D means developing core competencies of India. This is my literature review, and next is research methodology. This content I'm using in my research methodology. First is objective of the study. My first objective is to determine the effect of employee empowerment on leadership in post-COVID-19 among the banks. And second objective is to ascertain the effect of employee empowerment on motivation in post-COVID-19 among the banks. My hypothesis of the study, my first hypothesis is there is no significant difference between employee empowerment on leadership in post-COVID-19 among the banks. And second hypothesis is there is no significant difference between employee empowerment on motivation in post-COVID-19 among the bank. Next is research design. Descriptive research is the systematic data gathering of information from respondents, data collection from both primary data and secondary data. primary data has been collected with the help of a structured questionnaire method contain 5 points of Likert scale. And secondary data has been collected from the books, blogs, magazines, and research journal, etc. Next is sampling plan, sample method. Sample method, convenient sample method has been used. Sample size 30 respondents from banking sector, sample area, banking sector in River City, sample unit. Banking employee from the both public and private bank has been taken. Statistical tool, ANOVA tool we were applied. Next is research framework. In research framework, we taken two variables. First is independent variable and second is organization independent variable. My independent variable is employee empowerment and my dependent variable is organizational performance. We taken two components of the dependent variable. First is leadership and second is motivation. Leadership and motivation both help to improve employee performance. The next is research of hypothesis testing. My both null hypotheses we applied ANOVA testing and found that both null hypotheses rejected. Findings: we were found that maximum employee work between 0 to 5 years among the total employees in the organization. Leadership and motivation both ANOVA table. It shows that null hypothesis is rejected because significant value is less than the p-value. Next is we found that empowerment is rarely used in the organization and is less common than other management efforts like teamwork and quality management. By studying, we analyze that empowerment is influence the performance in positive way. Conclusion and suggestion. Empowerment employees with the support and tools they need to stay productive and healthy in face of new challenges. Remote work can be hard for many people. So it's important to provide a forum for employees to share resources and give employee permission to work out or meditation during pandemic. Leaders should clarify which decisions employees are able to make and which are beyond their responsibilities. Thank you so much, all the dignitaries and participants, for listening me.
Roshni, you have maintained the time. Now, the next participant is Pratigya Sharma.
Yes, ma'am.
Pratigya Sharma,
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
ready with your presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
You can start.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, PPT should. Okay, ma'am. Starting. A very good morning, honorable dignitaries and all the participants. I, Pratigya Sharma, along with my co-author Deepak Verma and Dilshad Ahmed, student of MBA HRD from Avdesh Pratap Singh University, are here to present our research work on challenges and strategies in work-life balance in post-COVID era. First of all, I would like to thank the dignitaries for providing us this opportunity. Ma'am, next slide, please. Okay, as we all know, in everyone's life, work and family is one of the most prominent part, and a person always strives to balance the professional and personal life, which is known as work-life balance. Ma'am, next slide, please. As we have seen, COVID has dramatically expanded across the world, and to limit the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths, most government has decided to put their country on lockdown and practice work from home. Because of not having scheduled time for work and family, employees found their work-life balance disorganized. Ma'am, next slide. Now, a major concern arises that how will they overcome the challenges in work-life balance occurred due to COVID-19. So, to mitigate the challenges in work-life balance, some strategies can be implemented such as workplace safety, employees benefit, compensation, remote work, effective communication, and so on. Ma'am, next slide. Am I audible, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, you are
Yes,
audible.
you are audible. You are audible. And skip the literature review bit.
Okay, ma'am. Then the next is the research methodology of our study. Ma'am, next slide, please.
Okay, Pratikya. Hello, Pratikya.
Yes, ma'am. It is getting muted by itself. I'm trying to manage. Okay, ma'am. I'm audible now.
Yes, you are
Hello.
audible. Yes, you are audible.
Okay,
Proceed
ma'am. Then
further.
the second object. Okay, ma'am. Then the next objective is to determine the role of work-life balance in working of an employee in an organization in this pandemic time. The third objective is to analyze the challenges in work life of an employee after COVID-19 era. And the last one is to find out the effective opportunities for employees that can emerge after COVID-19 pandemic. Now, further presentation.
Okay,
Now,
thank you,
further
Pratigya,
presentation.
and I am Deepak Verma, and I will continue from here. And this is the hypothesis of the study. Here it shows that there is no significant relationship between any variable. Next slide, ma'am. Research design. The exploratory research is the systematic data gathering of information from respondents, and the form of data collection is secondary data type and has been collected from various sources mentioned here. Next slide, ma'am. The next is analysis and discussion. Here we can see that how the coronavirus pandemic has affected the global economy structure. Here the red line shows the GDP of China's economy and the blue line indicates the GDP of rest of the other countries. It shows how the global economies are at the verge of collapse from past few years. Next slide, ma'am. Okay, the next is impact of COVID-19 on Indian economy. Here it shows that how the pandemic has affected the Indian economy. It is found in a recent survey that 2.5% of Indian economy has been fall down in the coronavirus pandemic period. Next slide. Findings. The next is finding. The finding of the research says that 32% of the organization are replacing full-time employees with contingent workers who are ready for part-time work as a cost safety measure. The next is increase in remote working, expanded employer role as a social safety net, and the last is transition from designing for efficiency to designing for resilience. It means proper arrangements of completion of tasks with safety measures. Next slide, ma'am. Last is conclusion. The study concludes that the coronavirus pandemic results global economic disturbance, which has ultimately affected the work-life balance of employees, because of which they have to face a lot of challenges in post-COVID era. Effective organizational strategies and policies can lead to overcome these challenges and can help in maintaining balance between work life and personal life of an employee. Thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Deepak and Pratigya Sharma, for completing your presentation in time. Now we have
Thank you
Dr.
so much, ma'am.
Fahimuddin Siddiqui. Okay. Dr. Fahimuddin Siddiqui is joining us right from Hyderabad, and he is Chief Manager at IDFC First Bank, Hyderabad. The title of his paper is Impact of COVID-19 Pandemic on Global Economy. Fahim, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, ma'am.
Okay.
Hello.
You can start your presentation.
Yeah, hi, very good morning to all the dignitaries, respect Atul sir, Shukla sir, and all the participants available here in the conference. Topic of my presentation is impact of COVID-19 pandemic on global economy. There's a world merchandise trade decline is nearly 13 to 32% in 2002 as per estimates. Global economic lockdown has also impacted global markets significantly. Loss in global business and travel industry alone is 810 billion US dollars. Forecasted GDP decline is around 2.4%. Monetary GDP loss in best case scenario will be 76 billion US dollar. Travel and hospitality industry is the worst affected. According to Asian Development Bank, global economy could witness estimated loss of 8.8 trillion. Economic losses in Asia and the Pacific region alone could range up to 1.7 trillion US dollar to 2.5 trillion US dollar, depending upon the containment scenarios, because situation is even going worse in actually. Like in as far as India is concerned, Chennai is going for a complete lockdown from 19th to 30th of this month. and global labor income will drop around 1.2 trillion to 1.8 trillion because of the pandemic. Major industries which are was affected with the crisis is travel and tourism, hospitality, sport industries, import and export dependent economies, oil dependent economies, financial sectors, equity markets, event industries, and entertainment industry. And healthcare is in the state of collapse actually because of the pandemic. And this is not the first case when world economies and has witnessed any kind of coronavirus infections. Before this, we have witnessed SARS in 2003. SARS is severe acute respiratory syndrome actually. SARS and COVID had the same family. Before that, there was MERS actually. MERS was Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. But the crisis was not extended at this level. But here, because now abnormal is a new normal actually. And the data suggests so many countries which are oil dependent actually, oil export dependent, they may go for a economic collapse because of this crisis. And as far as data of casualties are concerned, number of cases, affected cases are 80 lakh worldwide and 4. Because of the pandemic, all the economies are giving some economic. But the worst case is 20 lakh crore has been given as a stimulus package from India. 11% of the GDP has already been sponsored by US government, but situations are not still under control, and losses are extending because situation is under control, but there is no medicines available. That is why situation is not in control. Yeah, that's all for my side.
Thank you, Fahim, sir. It was great for listening from you. I'd like to tell you all that he was scheduled for yesterday's technical session. Basically, he belongs to finance background, but because of his some urgent meeting, he couldn't present his paper. And the stuff that he talked about is based on the paper that he wanted to present, which is captioned as Impact of COVID-19 Pandemic on Global Economy. So thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insight onto the topic. Thank you, Vayam, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sada. Thank you, ma'am.
Now our presentations are over now. Now I request our industry expert, Dr. John Phillips, sir, to say a few words for us and for the candidates as well. Before that, I would like to present his profile. Dr. John Phillips, sir, has 31 years of industry experience in NTPC, a Navratna public sector enterprise. He has worked in HR department at Singrauli, Vindhyachal, Korba, and Nagpur power stations of NTPC. Currently, he is working as Deputy General Manager NTPC, Nagpur, Maharashtra. His educational qualifications are MCom, MBA, LLB, and PhD. Dr. Philip certified award assessor for CII Business Excellence by Confederation of Indian Industries and certified performance management system trainer by Right Management USA. He is certified in HR measurements by Xavier Labor Relations Institutes, Jamshedpur. Professor Philip is a life member, Academy of HRD, National HRD Network, Indian Society for Training and Development, and Power HR Forum. Dr. John Phillips, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
First, can you confirm whether I am audible and visible?
A call from Sakriya Char. Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. You are audible, sir. Okay.
Good morning to each and everyone. Respected Professor Sangeeta Jain, chairperson for this session. Professor Avinash, the keynote speaker. Professor Atul Pandeji, special thanks to you for giving me this opportunity to be connected with you this morning. Good morning to all the participants who are connected to Google Meet for this e-national seminar. I firmly believe that COVID-19 pandemic has to do more with HR than any other branch of management. No doubt, COVID offered industry and economy an adverse effect in an unprecedented manner. At some time, it also served as an eye-opener, challenging and disproving many HR assumptions related to workforce. It challenged the workplace for many employees. It changed the complexion of workforce for many industries. And in fact, it has changed the work itself. As an HR practitioner in the industry, to my mind, there are three focal areas in which HR will be focusing in the post-COVID era. The first one would be ensuring safety and well-being of employees, for which it has to take new practices and adopt industry-wide categorization of employees based on their vulnerability to various infections. The mandate for physical distancing has created a new need for redesigning the workplace. Industries may have to resort to staggered deployment of workforce, and it also may have to allow employees to work from home. It also has to adopt to paperless and contactless methods of work in the industry. Industry also may have to resort to aggressive housekeeping in order to ensure the safety of employees and people visiting the premises. Frontline employees may also have to be given with protective equipments. Physical and mental well-being of employees has assumed a new importance, and organizations are renovating their policies in order to ensure on these fronts. HR policies, basically with relation to leave, work-life balance, and performance management, are going to take a new change. We have already resorted to doing conferences, training, and interviews on the digital mode. Input from employees are being taken in industry rather than assuming things while designing the policies for employees. The second point where the industries would be interested and concentrating in HR front in the post-COVID era would be to ensure the business continuity. HR has to move from its traditional mode to a more agile mode, continually reshaping the workforce to meet the challenges or changes in the business and the skill requirements. HR has assumed the responsibility of leading the organization from the wartime to the peacetime. COVID time has taught us many new things. We have learned a lot of good and new lessons. Sorry. For working in the lockdown period. And all these learnings and good practices and success in various experiments are to be capitalized in the post-COVID era. We have seen that how quickly and without resistance people have adopted new technology. People willingly accepted working from home, and they have emerged self-disciplined and self-reliant on many counts. Now we have in the industry two sets of employees, who are working from on-site and people
John sir, your
Sir, you are not audible, sir.
unmute yourself, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now the requirement will be to manage people from the remote area. And now we have to concentrate on designing new performance management systems, collecting real-time performance data, and resorting to remote supervision. Using this real-time performance data, we have to design digital performance management and develop a new PMS system which will be more result-oriented than process-oriented. As I told, we have already resorted to digital methods of
A call from
training and development. Business houses are resorting to fixed tenure hire of manpower to fill the contingent workforce requirement and to meet the skill gaps. Due to technology, location is not going to be a barrier anymore. COVID has made employees self-reliant and self-disciplined. This is an advantage for the organizations. During lockdown period, we have also witnessed exodus of migrant labor. This has created a new requirement for industries to take care of their migrant labor by ensuring proper accommodation and facilities wherever they stay. Having ensured the safety and well-being of employees and ensuring the business continuity, the third point which the HR would be concentrating is to fulfill the industry's commitment to society. Industries have to help the society to be self-reliant, improve their public health systems, and also essentially to put in place the emergency services. Most of the time we have felt in industry that the society is largely dependent on the government systems or the facilities which the industries in their locality have on emergency contingency plans. On the CSR front also, the major focus areas would be creating infrastructure in terms of roads and drains, drinking water facility, improving the education, health facilities, and developing self-help groups to generate income. Friends, when one door of happiness closes, another one opens. But we sometimes look at the closed door so long that we often fail to notice the new door which has been opened for us. The post-COVID era is going to be positive, bright, and vibrant, with a lot of opportunities for us to experiment and do new things. We need to keep our face towards the sunshine, and the shadows will fall behind us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for very well verbalizing the impact of COVID-19 in the industries in today's scenario by highlighting the changes in HR practices that we all have resorted to, like work from home, paperless and contactless methods of work, aggressive housekeeping precautions to be taken care of by the employees at the front line. So thank you so much for giving your valuable insight into this. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sweta.
Now I would like to take the opportunity to invite key speaker for this technical session, Professor Avinash Pathardikar, sir. But prior to that, I would like to give some insight into his profile. Professor Avinash Pathardikar has 21 years of experience in academics. He has completed two major research projects sponsored by UGC and ICSSR respectively, and two consultancy projects sponsored by UNICEF and Department of Labor, Uttar Pradesh. He has received 5 awards in his research work. Presently, he is Dean Faculty of Management Studies at VBS Purvanchal University, Jaunpur, Uttar Pradesh. He has been head Department of HRD and member of Executive Council, Academic Council, University Court, and Examination Committee of Purvanchal University. He has acted as a resource person in more than 20 universities and institutes. Professor Avinash Pathardikar, sir, over to you.
Thank you.
Welcome once again, sir.
Thank you for coordinating the session. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Okay. Okay. With the permission of Chair Professor Sangeeta Jain, Dean IMS Devi Ahilyabai University Indore, I would like to give my special thanks to Professor Atul Pandey for giving me this opportunity, and a special thanks to Professor P.R. Agarwal, the Vice Chancellor of the University. And prior to joining there, he was our Vice Chancellor. And I can observe from the meticulous programming of this entire event that the able guidance and leadership is being provided to all the academics in the university. He is very hard taskmaster, and I am proudly say that I was one of the team member when he was here as a vice chancellor. I am thankful to the entire team of this event. I'm supposed to speak on the HRM aspect of this post-COVID era. But before that, I would like to give some of the lessons from the biggest pandemic in past 100 years, and which is known as Spanish flu. This Spanish flu was spreaded in 1918, and it was remained for 24 months. The severity of that pandemic, you can imagine, about 4 crores died worldwide, and about 20% world population was infected. And that virus was deadly for 20 to 40 years of age group, which was the most productive population during that period. And average lifespan was depressed by 10 years. So you can understand the gravity or the severity of that pandemic. Altogether, mortality rate was 25% those who were infected. And when we talk of especially for the Indian subcontinent, out of 1,000 who were infected, 50 people died. It was spreaded through trade routes in shipping. That during that time, shipping was one of the main trade routes. And you can imagine, in the year of 1933, we could prove that Spanish flu was due to virus. About in the year of 1940, the vaccine invented by Thomas Francis and Jonathan Salk. So altogether, again 22 years it was invented. And most important thing that I would like to say, this second wave came in winters with greater magnitude. As we all know, the World War period was between 1914 to 1918, and in that World War, 40 million casualties, again the 4 crores were died due to that World War period, and it was ended somewhere in November 1918. What I am saying, how this affected this such kind of pandemic affects the humanity. Now, what we have learned from this, ultimately, the countries who remain who learn from the past. One important measure which was taken during that time was non-pharmaceutical intervention, which it is called NPI, which was most effective. Now, recently in this in the COVID era, it is known as social. It is called as social distancing. Means earlier it was called non-pharmaceutical intervention (NPI). The basic main thing was there. The those those who could avoid mass casualty, who have implemented non-pharmaceutical intervention. Cities which adopted NPI did not affect negatively. And one important thing is what cities taken early preventive measures experience relative increase in economic activities later. And I am happy to say India is one of them. And two major effects were found: sharp and persistent decline in economic activity. In that time also, similarly, it is happening today. Cities implemented early NPI affected less. So that is the case with the Indian subcontinent also, who aggressively intervene higher relative increase in economic activity. So those countries who aggressively intervened that NPI, later the economic activity started very fast. These are the findings to which I am quoting. It is right there on World Economic Forums, and it was conducted by Korea et al. And this is what very recent article published in 2020, and it is there. It is Social Science Research Network repository. It is already available. You can go through. So what I mean to say, the situation is not that grim. Those severely affected areas experience relative decline in manufacturing. Manufacturing is one of the important area of any industry or for any economy. And output, bank asset, good consumption was declined 18%. And it is going to affect. It has affected both demand and supply also. Same thing is happening. But one important thing is what those who reacted 10 days earlier, they could increase their 5% employment in post-pandemic period. So I mean to say, when this was going to be spreaded with this COVID-19, later they could gain their employment 5% more. And those who implemented NPI additional for 50 days, means post-COVID, which we talk about, those who could implement for more than 50 days, their employment and economic activity increased by 6.5%. And recent evidences that also shows this, as the Taiwan, China, Singapore, they have limited infection growth and able to manage in future. So these are some of the countries. Although for China, I am not agreed upon, but the Taiwan and Singapore, they could have managed this pandemic very efficiently. Now, this is what the background and how the HR strategies are going to be affected. Most of the points Mr. John Philip, they have already pondered upon. But being the HR student, I would like to say the personalization. I mean, what about the HR activities? Especially, we should focus upon the employee personalization. for the able, those who are the knowledgeful, those who are the experienced. Again, they are very valuable for the organizations. Personalized benefits that is to be given by the organization to these people, and that would be as per the unique need of employee. Second aspect is what we should focus on: wellness on mental health and overall wellness. One survey recently, which was conducted by MetLife survey, and when it was asked to the employees, and 50% says benefits with well-being, mental health, and financial security that would prevail, and that uh, they would be preferring working for those organizations, and world be loyal who provide holistic benefits. Means these employees would be loyal to only with those organizations who are going to provide the holistic benefits to the organization. Another important aspect is what workplace flexibility. Now, uh, it is about 90 days when all are working from home, and now they have got that phase that they work with the flexibility from their home. Some may be reluctant to work or rejoin for strict hours, requiring more leniency and total. Say, for example, most of the organizations work for 5 days a week. That comes 40 hours in a week. Means what 40 hours the employee would decide. So those who are very capable knowledge workers, they would decide, they would try to bargain with the management or the HR people that 40 hours that we will try, what 40 hours that we are supposed to work. Then employee upskilling is the important area. Uh, the recent survey, again, it was conducted by Deloitte, who says uh, organizations which provides opportunity for skill upgradation, they would prefer to work with them. The four technologies are, as some 4 5 years before, our honorable Prime Minister was emphasized, and I was listening that speech. He emphasized the robotics, machine learning, business analytics. This is the era is about to come, and the post-COVID era. These are the important areas that we need to look upon, and the recruitment practices would be depending upon the machine learning and artificial intelligence, the business analytics. Another survey which was conducted by Economic Time survey, and who asked 100 HR heads throughout the India, and 72% says it will remain for 6 months after. Means the post-COVID effect would at least going to remain with us for 6 months as far as economy is concerned. And 70% believes the remote working will fall in productivity. Means those who work from the home, and the 70% people, they believe that productivity will be going down, as there will not be any direct face-to-face interaction working for the organization. So ultimately, in the post-COVID era, we are going to witness focus on remote workplace, digitalize the HR function, and reimagining the workplace model. This is what is important is. Now the workplace model is going to be changed. So remote working would be prevailing, well-being would be emphasized, and the engagement practices would be redefined. Means for remote working people, how we are going to engage such people, that would be the challenge before the HR practitioners. And more, one important thing is what team building in distant mode. Earlier, everybody was interacting face to face on a table in the office. Now the virtual teams are going to be prevailing. So team building is one of the important challenge before the HR practitioners, and the employee trust. Then when we are in the crisis, trust is going down. So this is again the challenge before the HR practitioners, means building trust among the team members. As I was watching the news in the morning, this Jaguar organization, they have decided to reduce their 50% working population. So in such case, the trust is going to be hampered between the employees. So trust building exercise again the challenge before the HR practitioners. Motivation, of course, and some would say the odd even formula for ensuring the social distancing. So how this is going to happen if you reduce the workplace? Because as Mr. Philip has already pondered upon, two kind of organizations would be there. One, the face-to-face functioning at the workplace, and like manufacturing organization. Other, the supporting function or the service sector organization, they would they can work from the distance mode. But what about these manufacturing organizations? That is the important area. So altogether, the organization needs to require IT infrastructure, structural mechanism to institutionalize remote working, security protocols means required, IT, how means many softwares we are working upon sometimes, Zoom meeting, Google meeting, WebEx, Blue Jeans, many are there. So I'm afraid which kind of software is safe. So similar kind of when you work from the distant mode, means IT security protocols are come into action that needs to be handled by the HR people. So needing the organization need to work alignment and work control to structured work allocation, communication protocol, providing meaningful work, e-learning. During this pandemic, I have talked to my many ex-students who says sometimes we get the unnecessary assignment, especially for engagement purpose. So the HR people, whether they are going in this direction, they need to think upon it. So basically, as far as this ultimate pandemic, the pandemic is going to affect negatively, and to manage that, the yoga, exercise, counseling session, skill upgradation that would be required, holistic approach to employee well-being that would be in demand. So ultimately, the counseling session means HR need to be more skillful in counseling. So need to be trained first also. So institutionalizing visiting way of working means rethinking, ultimately I would say rethinking workforce and workplace model. That is the challenge. Rethinking engagement model, redesigning performance management, to which already Mr. Philip has already talked about, rethinking employee benefit policies, process of talent acquisition, organizing offering employees payouts. So ultimately, these are some of the areas that the HR should think upon. So I mean to say, one important, I would conclude with my one slok of Gita, which talks about the compassion and kindness. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitram karuna evcha निर्ममो निरहंकार समुदुखम क्षमी. इसका मतलब इट मीन्स व्हाट, सभी प्राणियों में द्वेष भाव से रहित, सबका मित्र और दयालु, ममता रहित, अहंकार रहित, सुख दुख की प्राप्ति में सम क्षमाशील, मेरे में अर्पित मन बुद्धि वाला जो मेरा भक्त है वो मेरे को. भगवान कृष्ण कहते हैं कि ऐसे लोग जिनके अंदर करुणा है, दयालुता है, ममता है, अहंकार नहीं है, सुख दुख की प्राप्ति में मेरा जो क्षमाशील है वो मेरे को प्रिय है. तो ऐसे HR, those who are compassionate and kind-hearted, will definitely will lead to their organization to the path of success. With these words, I am thankful to the organizer, especially to Professor Sangeeta Jain for allowing me to speak this much of time, and Professor Atul Pandey and his entire team for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for wonderfully highlighting the strategies that can be used by the organization to cope up with the workforce challenges that COVID-19 has fostered on the businesses of all types. You talked about personalized employee benefits, wellness of employees, financial security, workplace flexibility, remote working, redefining of engagement practices, team building, and redesigning performance management systems, and many other areas you shed light upon. So thank you so much for remarking the changes in the practices that is the need of time to be made today during this COVID-19. So thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insight. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. Thank you.
Now I request Professor Sangeeta Jain ma'am to Now I request Professor Sangeeta Jain ma'am to please address the session. Before proceeding further, here is an insight into her extensive profile. Professor Sangeeta Jain has 28 years of experience in teaching and research. She is Dean Faculty of Management Studies and Director, Institute of Management Studies, Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, Madhya Pradesh. She is member of Academic Council of DAVV, Prestige Institute of Management and Research, and many other institutes. She is a corporate trainer for CIPLA, Impetus, APTC, PSF, and IMA, Indore. She is an assessor in NAC, Bangalore. Professor Jain did her MBA from Vikram University, Ujjain, and PhD from DAVV. She is NET qualified, and 20 candidates have been awarded PhD in management under her supervision. Her areas of interest are organizational behavior and social and industrial psychology. Welcome once again, ma'am.
Thank you, Shweta. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, I must say about my regards to Professor P.R. Agrawal, Honorable Vice Chancellor of APS University, because I think he is the person, he is a professor of management. He gave this very idea to Dr. Atul for organizing such a elaborate conference, the 3-day conference. And I must congratulate Dr. Atul Pandey, Dean Faculty of Management, APS University, Rewa, for wonderfully organizing this entire conference. I was just going through the schedule and the galaxy of speakers, and I'm really proud that all the teachers were there, right from Professor Nageshwar Rao, Dr. P.K. Singh, Dr. Sharma. So all the teachers were there, Dr. Das. I felt very good. And special thanks to Dr. Atul for inviting me and giving me this an opportunity to chair this session on HRM. So I congratulate all the organizers, because I know it's only one phase or 2-3 phases, but there's an entire team which works behind this. So thanks to each and every one, the technical team and all others, because we know how difficult it is to organize such a conference having 6 sessions. So congratulations to all the organizers also. And yes, to sum up the entire thing, as already Dr. Atul mentioned, that we are running out of time and we need to finish the things early. So quickly, I'll recap the things. In this particular technical session of 3-day National Conference on Challenges and Strategies in Business Management Post-COVID Area, this is the technical session, third technical session of HRM. And in this particular session, 6 papers were being presented, and I am happy that out of 6, the 3 or 4 were elaborating on work-life balance, I think, which is the need of which is the need of the situation now. So presenters have worked well, but yes, I won't say that all the papers were well researched. There lots of improvement is required. I won't be just giving the, I'll critically review. So may the time also was not allocated too much, so not able to give that. But yes, as far as research pathology is concerned, in few papers that you need to work on that, and particularly the analytical part, because it was only the percentage based, and some papers we use the simple techniques. But yes, the efforts were there, and I congratulate all the 6 presenters for giving their best. And in this adverse situations also, they tried to compile the things and presented the papers here. So I congratulate all of you. And my greetings and my regards to our keynote speaker, Professor Avinash from Jaunpur University. Sir, good afternoon, and it's an opportunity the COVID has given to meet in person here like this. So thank you for your comments and making this session live. I also pay my regards to Mr. John Philip. He is Deputy General Manager NTPC from industry. Wonderfully, he has given the industrial side, that how the things to be taken, and the 3 areas what he has focused on, ensuring safety and well-being and all that. So a lot has been talked about the COVID in the papers also, and the other 2 our speakers have talked about this. But as far as a few things what I felt as academician also, and as a person observing all these things, no doubt that COVID has deeply impacted the life of every individual. There's no doubt about that. And it's not only the individual, but all types of institutions across the world. I think this is after, as Professor compared the Spanish flu and now this COVID-19, this is, I think, after so many years now, as a world, we are seeing that the things has affected the worldwide influences there. So whether it's personal front or family front or social or professional, all corners of our life is undergoing many challenges, and that we have never seen before. Now, such challenges, what we have never seen before, you see, now it's almost 3 months. And now I am really proud to say that, like we are coming with such conferences, that now the people have accepted the situation, accepted the new normal, and the things have started moving. If you just analyze, the first month it was that what is happening, ye kya ho raha hai, ye kya ho gaya. But now the people have accepted, and we as human beings, we are very good at adapting the change. We are very flexible. So we always try to see the opportunities, and that I think we all are doing at our best. And as we know that, yes, economy is drastically affected in last few months, with number of closed business houses, institutions, factories, markets, maybe the shops, job work. So many, like the Atlas, I was just seeing that news, the Atlas now got closed. So it's just one, so many manufacturing units have closed. And then one thing, the worst thing what we all have witnessed, that is the migration of laborers from the cities and business hubs to the other villages or their cities in the miserable state. That is just for the fulfillment of basic needs. So one thing that COVID has made us realize that yes, it is the essentials, it is the basic needs that has to be worked on. As HR people now, we can very well relate to the Maslow's hierarchy, that it is the first 2 needs, if taken care of, then only the person can think of the other. So it is now we are working, the number of people, we are blessed that we are sitting here, we are talking, we are discussing about the issue, but there are a number of people who are really still fighting for their very basic, the first level of Maslow's need, that is their food and the shelter. And as the responsible people, we all have our responsibilities, that how we can contribute, because COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted, no doubt, the functioning of all the business organization. Yes, we can very well understand there are certain sectors which are very much affected by this, but there are sectors which will see that yes, some hope is there, and the job opportunities will going to be large in that. Maybe it's a healthcare, maybe it's pharma, maybe it's digital or the online media. So opportunities are there, but there are hit areas also. And those hit areas, of course, we all are aware, whether it's a manufacturing unit or other things. But as far as you see, when we try to look at from the HR perspective, because HRM, when we say human resource management, it is one of the worst hit area as it directly affects the human being. And for the first time, I think, as a world, the people have started showing that fear, that anxiety has come, that what will going to happen. So this uncertainty itself, that is giving as a HR professionals, as a HR faculty, that how we can first work on the human mind, because that psychological fitness is very important, that mental health is very important. So when I say that the things are not going in the right direction, because not only their jobs are cut or the salaries are cut, promotions are withheld, recruitment has stopped. You see, people have started working from home. All these things has happened just within this 60 days. We were not used to that. So you see how the mind has getting affected. Now, it is people, the maturity differs. So we as a responsible person, we are now in such a state that how we can support the HR professionals. You need to take care of your entire HR team. As a teachers, as a mentors, we need to take care of our students, our faculty members, because that uncertainty. Being in government sector, we are getting a salary, but I am aware of there are so many private education institutes, and the problem is that their salaries are cut. Only 30% salary now they are getting. In the teaching fraternity also. This is really very disturbing. And when we are conducting these conferences, when we are discussing these issues, we must think on what we can do, in which direction we can move. So what I think that as HR expert, we need to look at the disruptions created by COVID pandemic and explore the various issues which we can able to resolve, maybe together, maybe at individual level, maybe at organizational level, all these things. So when I talk about this, what issues we can be resolved in which state, especially looking at the HR perspective and from HR point of view, the first thing is defining the new job profiles, because now the nature of job has changed. It's the new normal has come. So define this new job profiles. The entire systems and processes needs to be redefined. Sir has already pointed on that. But yes, all the systems, because understand that it's always the helicopter view which works. When you're bringing change in one, the change in other has to be there. If you're bringing a change in the technology, the change in the designing of a job, change in the designing of a place, everything is correlated. If such changes are not being made, then how we can have those positive results? So right from recruitment till separation, whether it is an activity of related to recruitment or activity related to maybe a performance appraisal systems, or maybe imparting training, or maybe the working on the salary package, what other things we can give. So all the operative functions, what we say operative functions of HR, that needs to be relooked, that needs to be redesigned, so that the effect is that our employee really gets mentally strong and that psychological wellness comes in. Then with this, one more area what I always talk about, that these things I understand that yes, you can do on papers, you can show, but what we cannot see. I compare the organization with the very simple philosophy of organizational iceberg, that only the tip is visible, what we can see. Yeah, on the tip we can see, we can change the process, we can change the system, we can redesign the work, we can redesign the organogram, but then what's behind? That is 2/3 is beneath the water, their emotions, their psychological makeup. So as HR people, we need to look that 2/3 area, and that is what is not visible. Not because we all are passing through such a state which has really affected us mentally also. So that needs to be taken, that how we can frame various things so that the management of emotions, the venting of the things, maybe the emotions can be expressed, how you can counsel them, what type of psychological support we can give to them. So all these, their health issues, these things, and it is physical health as well as psychological health. So what I always try to focus on, that try to look at what is not visible also. We are bringing changes on papers in various things, but then try to act as that how those things can be taken care of. Maybe some systems can be designed that each and every employee of the organization is connected to someone. They can able to share. The counselors has to be there. So such thing, this is now the demand of the situation. People are passing through such stages. And with all this, certain new set of skills and of course the use of technology that needs to be naturally acquired and given those opportunities to them so that they can learn these and able to survive with this. I'm sure you see, maybe in the corporate, the culture was there of working from home and all that, but in academics and especially the our university system, this was not there. I think for the first time we all have now started doing this, and it's giving more, it's more productive. We can able to connect, we can bring so many people across the world and we can take the benefit of that. So some good things are happening, but then we need to understand and make people understand that things are going towards positive, but that fear, that anxiety to be taken off, that what will going to happen next. We are talking about post-COVID, but I think it is not post-COVID. The COVID is going on and we have to live with this. It is not post-COVID. It is with COVID. Maybe in coming 1 year, we have to live with this. So all those things, whether it is the leadership styles or maybe the motivational techniques, everything, some in one of the paper, one researcher has presented the motivational technique very well. She has explained the different type of motivational technique. So whether right from planning or all those managerial function, but yes, the demand is the leadership style needs to be changed. The motivational techniques needs to be changed. The more of networking, more of teamwork, coordination, that is required. We being Indians, when we hear this term, the social distancing, earlier we were not used to accept this. हम अलग कैसे रहें, क्योंकि आदत नहीं है शायद, पर वो चीजें हमें माननी पड़ रही हैं, अब समझ में आ रहा है, because that is the only way with which we can work together. So I'm not saying social distancing, it's the physical distance that matters, but emotionally, mentally be connected to everyone. And they are now, thanks to technology, we can be connected in so many ways to each other. So I always tell that connect to each other. It is connecting the world now. And it is the, we can say, we can do in real time. There is no pressure. You can connect to the people anytime, whatever you want. You can enhance your knowledge anytime, whenever you feel like. So try to look at those opportunities, what that is given. We all know, we all are aware that the problems were there. So when we talk about such things, I again request all the scholars and researchers that they should find the new areas of research, because that is the purpose of any conference, which will bring new insights into post-COVID or during COVID HR practices. And take this present situation as an opportunity to investigate into the many issues which are neither imagined, we haven't imagined this, and not faced by the people during their lifetime. So take this as an opportunity and try to look at what different type of research areas you can take with the industry people, take the things and try to come out with the solutions, that what models can be workable in this changed situation. So I am sure both industry and academics would bring innovative solutions to cope up with the challenges presented by COVID and provide a better future and life to the people at work and at home. Because you see, working from home again is a very, very challenging. And especially for the women, because it is again the two things, the two front they are managing. Without maids, we have learned to now live without maids, and then working also, and at the same time doing our official work also. It's not easy. It's very difficult. So this is another challenge what women is facing. Somebody has presented also, and I am thankful to all the other our male community that it's not that they are supporting too. And I think that COVID had made us learn about the survival skills also. So we have now learned about various other things what we were not used to. So I hope that all the scholars who has presented the paper today in this adverse situation will come with more advanced researches, and I appreciate their effort and extend my best wishes for all the paper presenters and wish a great career ahead. And to our both the speakers, I must say that you have contributed, you have added value for the researchers. Thank you, Professor. Professor Avinash and Dr. John, because you have contributed really in enhancing and throwing the light that how the HR things to be seen in a new perspective. And Dr. Atul again conducting and organizing such a wonderful conference. So congratulations to all. And that's the end. Good luck, stay healthy, happy and safe. This is what the COVID had. सबसे पहले अपने आप को संभालिए और फिर ये सब काम बहुत अच्छे से करिए, because that is the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We are running short of time. We are already 10 minutes late for valedictory.
That's why I try to wind up the things as early as possible. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our invited guests are waiting there, so I request everyone to please join the valedictory session in the other wing. Thank you very much, Sangeeta Jain, Dr. Adikar, Dr. John Philip, and all the participants. I request all of you to kindly join the valedictory session in the valedictory session wing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
It has been shared in chatbot also, and it has been shared to you through WhatsApp and through emails. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
ma'am.